Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Here to talk all things hockey are your hosts, Brad Crisco, Ryan Hanna, and Evan Lobsinger.
I don't want to go back and check, but was Evan wearing the exact same thing last episode?
No.
That's a different Masters zip-up?
It's the only Masters zip-up I have.
And you weren't wearing that last episode?
That's correct.
If you're lying to me, you're going to be exposed immediately on YouTube.
I'm not lying. I wore a blue Nike zip-up.
Okay, right. A different golf outfit.
Yeah.
Did you come from golf?
No, I'd be a lot happier. Well, maybe I'd be a lot sadder. Who knows? The way I've been playing lately, I'd be a lot sadder or grumpier.
More questions for you, Evan. Have you been golfing as you've been unpacking?
I golfed yesterday for men's league.
And has Kat tried to kill you every time you've come home?
Actually, I've golfed twice. Yes, I've had to work excessive hours making up for it, but it's been worth it.
Huh?
Not for the house, for golfing.
I was going to open this episode with a Nathan McKinnon joke, but I don't know. Seeing Evan in person is just a whole different ballgame. Still not.
I got nothing.
Can you imagine Evan in your face screaming that you're not eating enough like chickpea pasta and like slapping you because you didn't put a puck right on his tape?
I think the funnier reality there would be watching Nathan McKinnon scream at Evan, and just the level of apathy on his face as this is going down would be amusing.
I would not care for his tone.
I was reading through that list of stuff and I was like, private chef. All right. Yeah. I always thought that's the kind of athlete I'd be if I was, good.
Could afford it.
Personal trainer. Did he have like a sports therapist or something? Or am I just thinking?
Yeah, I think he had a live-in athletics therapist or something like that.
Regardless, all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, spend money on your body. That's investing in yourself. LeBron does that, right? Like, hell yeah. Chickpea pasta, cut out all junk food. All right, yeah, I'm all for like treating yourself a little bit from time to time, but hey, like he's at the top of his game. He wants to win by all means. Screaming at his teammates when they eat junk food. A little bit much for me. Getting rid of all fatty foods and stuff from the dressing room. Okay.
Basically, put it like this. If you were still working in an office and your coworker comes up to you at the cafeteria and says, "Why are you eating this poutine? And we need to get rid of all this junk and only have salads and power foods." You'd probably want to slap them right in the face.
Okay, in fairness, me eating a poutine isn't going to affect mine and my coworkers' collective work.
Well, it's going to put, maybe it, doesn't raise your energy for the afternoon and you work on a project together and then they're all pissed off because they're having a nap and they're doing their downward dog or whatever they are on their 15-minute break.
Yeah, it all devolved into a little bit of psychotic behavior.
Oh yeah. It was very Last Dance-ish, except without all the winning.
Honestly, I think the dunking is all in good fun just because whenever McKinnon wins, assuming that it's going to happen one day, people will look back on that and say, see, that's a winner's mentality. And I won't argue, but I thought it was just like the list got so progressively crazy. I was like, oh man.
Now he has to win. Otherwise, it's just like, you're just an asshole.
You absolutely have to win at that point.
Yeah.
Do you think Crosby was ever that way?
Oh, 1,000%. Like, who do you think McKinnon probably got it from? They trained together religiously.
Yeah, they're like best buds.
Like, do you know the level of respect I now have for Nikita Kucherov, watching him shirtless with his beer gut and like just crushing Bud Lights after, just like, oh yeah, this is what peak performance looks like. So that combined with the McKinnon article makes it, I don't know if that makes it better or worse, but I certainly got more entertainment out of it because of that.
You forgot about 3 in a row Stanley Cup champion Pat Maroon.
Oh man,
he's a physical specimen.
Was it Fat Pat? That's what they called him.
Yeah, it's part of the Chub Club.
Oh yeah, what was his line that got caught on Mike W? He's like, I may be chubby, but I'm effective. And that was like on a T-shirt the next day.
Hockey players are a different breed, not usually for the best, but sometimes it pans out.
Oh yeah.
Well, on that note, welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Looking more and more like Pat Maroon in the worst ways every day. I'm Ryan Hanna.
Light years away from Nathan McKinnon, I'm Brad Crisco.
And I'm Evan.
Evan, someone screen capped. Someone took a picture of them watching the show on YouTube and tweeted at us. And then someone took a screenshot of that picture or like cropped it, and it was just you with the most like dejected.
Why am I here face?
Yeah. Why can't the Ben Affleck smoking a cigarette, looking pissed off with the dad bod, like first day back in the studio, and you're just like full on haven't missed a beat.
Yeah, you described it perfectly.
We missed you too, buddy.
No, I did not.
I took a screenshot of it, not for any Evan reasons, but I feel like that's going to get a lot of use during Red Wings games this year.
Yeah, most likely.
Okay.
All right. On this episode of the Winged Wheel podcast, we are going to be chatting with you about the Red Wings arbitration situation, which has, I don't want to say evolved, we just know the dates of them. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. The Red Wings made a depth signing, mostly AHL. We'll be talking a little bit about what's going to happen at the bottom of the Red Wings lineup. The Evander Kane saga, the Jack Eichel saga continues to unfold. The Evander Kane story emerges in the weirdest of ways. Kind of a all-around terrible situation. And then just some other smaller notes before overtime. I was going to say we'll talk about Nathan MacKinnon, but I think we've done our requisite dunking. I should still say Nathan MacKinnon's one of my favorite NHLers to watch. He's one of the best players in the world.
Oh, I would probably do everything he did, minus the screaming at teammates. Like a live-in chef is literally my dream.
Yeah, like, you know what? Yelling at teammates when they're pissing off in practice and not using the time, I'm all for that. When it comes to hockey, I think hockey and the workplace are two different things. And at professional sports, I think tough love is sometimes the answer, depending on the guy. But if it's like your default and there's no room for anything else, then yeah, you're going to have guys who are pissed off. Someone pointed out there's like a very casual interview with Cale Makar, and they're like, "What's your guilty secret?" And he was like, "I had a Slurpee on the way home from practice the other day." And people were like, "That's a weird answer." And now they're like, "Oh, we get it."
It's like, yeah, oh, you absolute psychopath.
MacKinnon beat the shit out of him next practice.
Yeah, I was gonna say, back in the 1930s, people ran into war. Cale Makar's having a Slurpee. Same probably fear levels.
Podcast merch. You know something that we need to do? Make a little mini action figure of the mini version of Evan that's the bouncer in his brain. Apparently that was a hit. People really loved that. Do you even remember what we were talking about?
No.
Yeah.
Listen, I've forgotten the day of the week every day. Every day this week. I keep thinking it's Tuesday, tomorrow's Friday. I got a golf tournament on the weekend. I'm going to shoot 1,000,000.
You cannot measure time with your golf tournaments because they're just perpetually happening.
That's like the only thing that I have to measure time now, because I just feel like every day blends into one until I've got my next round of golf. That's all I have.
I legitimately thought I was coming over here for the Sunday episode.
God.
I really wish I was joking on that one.
All right. Vrana and Ernie. So 2 arbitration dates are set. The first of which is Jakub Vrana, which is on Wednesday, August 11th, which is 6 days away from us recording today. The decision has to be doled out within 48 hours of arbitration. I said something last episode that deserves correction, actually. I mentioned that the contract can be signed all the way up until the arbitrator's decision. That's actually incorrect. That was changed a little while ago. So the moment the arbitration hearing starts, the contract can no longer be signed. It is fully within the arbitrator's hands. So apologies. I kind of forgot that change even happened. Speaking of just not knowing when anything is. So the 11th is Vrana's, and I believe Ernie's is the 21st. That is less than a week for Vrana. That's a much tighter timeline than I thought the Red Wings would have.
Yeah, it's, you'd rather get it over with sooner. It does suck for Stevie because, now he's got less time to work with. And I guess Vrana and his agent as well. But, sometimes these things, the longer they linger, the more it gets talked about, the worse it is, the more you start going down rabbit holes you probably shouldn't mentally and philosophically. So, no, it's probably overall better that it's sooner. Especially since, Vrana instead of Ernie, because Vrana is probably the higher profile case, which could go more directions because he's just a better player.
Mm-hmm. I think if arbitration is being filed, I don't know. Like I know Yzerman has wanted to go short term, or that's what at least he said. And you, Brad, have mentioned that you believe him on that, which is a fool's errand, but kudos to you for having that faith.
I said I hope I'm wrong on a couple of them.
Is that too tight of a timeline? 6 days, really, before you can start before you lose the window?
No, because both sides have by this point firmly laid out where they are, and now it's finding the middle ground. It's not like Stevie's gonna walk up to his agent tomorrow and go, all right, I'm thinking 3 years at $5 million, and then his agent's like, oh, we're thinking 8 by 6.
Yeah.
Like, it's like they know what ballpark they're each in, and depending how far apart they are, it's just gonna depend on who's gonna bend more. And obviously Stevie's notoriously stingy. I was honestly surprised when he ended up in arbitration with Bertuzzi last year, considering they were not that far off. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to lie. If one or both of these end up in arbitration, that's going to be a bit of a red flag for me, because not that Stevie is Jarmo and not that Detroit is Columbus, but we've all heard the reports of how hard a line Jarmo Kekalainen draws in the sand, and it's probably not a coincidence that there's just been a mass exodus in Columbus of all their star players. And if Stevie takes too hard of a line with too many guys, I wouldn't rule out the same thing happening here, especially before the success. You can do that in Tampa because your ultimate argument is, yeah, there's a cup at the end of this negotiation, like we saw with Hedman, like we saw with Stamkos. He doesn't have that in Detroit yet. He doesn't have that leg to lean on, like, yeah, well, you can take this money and go elsewhere and we'll win with the group we have here. He doesn't have that to stand on. And that's what I think ultimately happened in Columbus, is Jarmo drove his hard bargain, but he didn't have anything to show for it. He had a playoff series win. Like, guys are like, okay, well, it's not working here. You're not giving me my money. What incentive do I have to kick around? So, and I'm not saying that's going to happen. And I would bet on the contrary. And like I said, I'm still betting that these don't go to arbitration because they so rarely do. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, if they do, that'll probably be one of the first red flags that goes up for me.
I think the difference between Jarmo and Stevie, and for one reason or another, Steve had the reputation in Tampa. I think he squeezed Stamkos before you could say that Tampa was definitely going to win.
They had already been to Cup Finals at that point, though. Like,
they already had one?
Yeah. Oh, they were Cup Finals, what, like 2015?
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the earlier.
And they probably would have had multiple cups if it wasn't for just like some horrific, insignificant, bad injury luck. Like, if you remember when they went into the Cup final without Tyler Johnson had a broken wrist, Ben Bishop was playing on one leg, and then they were missing Stamkos. I think it was the next year when they lost.
Forget 2015. That was
yeah,
Detroit.
like,
yeah.
Tampa legitimately should have 4 or 5 cups, and it's honestly probably bad luck more than anything that they don't. So he had that. He's like, look at this team. We're gonna win. Like, he could say that with as much confidence as any GM could ever say, we're gonna win here. And then obviously they did win too. So he had that negotiating tactic. So when you lose that, and to a lot of players, that is the biggest factor. Like, yeah, I'll take a cut if it gets me rings. Right. So
yeah. Okay. So I don't even know if I necessarily agree with the concern, but I'm going to move along with your hypothetical. I think that Stevie, based on what he's built in Tampa, has the pet, like he'll get the same amount of buy-in, or he'll have more or less the same amount of leg to stand on, so to speak. He can say to guys, I've done it before. I'm doing it here in Detroit. So that's why I got to squeeze you. I have a way of doing this. If you stay, you're going to win. Eventually you'll win, and I want you to be a part of it.
Oh yeah. And these conversations are going to be way more nuanced than we could ever fully flush out on here, because, you know, Stevie's going to be like, I have full confidence in what we're building. You should stick around. We want you to be a core part of it. We can't overpay guys to do that. And then the player's going to come back. Okay, well, I think I'm worth more than that. Look at all, you have the cap space. You can't tell me you can't fit my demands under this. Yada, yada, yada. So there's going to be those types of details that we'll never have the time to really, really get into. But yeah, it's just, again, this is all hypothetical, and this is concern over something that hasn't happened yet. Yeah. Like I said, if Vrana signs tomorrow and Ernie signs on Sunday, it's a useless conversation. But with Ernie, I'm less concerned, but like, because it happened with Bertuzzi last year, who's one of the best players on the team. If it happens with Vrana this year, who's one of the best players on the team, that's
Bertuzzi is what we'll call him when he scores 2 goals.
Bertuzzi. I love it. But, yeah.
It's a little coin joke for our American friends.
So if you take all your role players to arbitration, because you're like, hey, my argument is I can replace you. Yeah. Who cares? But if, you know, 2/3 of your top lines go into arbitration in back-to-back years, yeah, like I said, the first true red flag that would go up for me under this regime.
I just can't believe how small your work desk is, Ryan.
It's terrible, dude. It's real
I
bad.
was trying to think about what Brad was saying, but I just started looking at that thing. And I totally lost any thought I had.
I work on this half the time. I'm not gonna lie.
I was gonna say, how could you not?
believe that.
I try not to because I don't want to wear this gorgeous podcast desk in that Daniel Rossi from RD Woodworking made us.
Like a mat down or something on it.
I do. I mean, look how I'm kind of neurotic with these coasters.
Yeah, fair.
How bad is your carpal tunnel?
You
use that all day.
I'm getting like tendonitis in my elbow.
You should
It's real bad.
Send that to your employer.
Well, yeah, I'm doing my ergonomic assessment. I'm an old man.
Wait, what? Okay.
Yeah.
I can't wait till they see your desk and they give you an assessment on that. They're gonna be like, well, your desk is 4 feet too short.
Okay.
It's in the corner. You can't fit a chair there.
I need to send you a video when I get home or tomorrow of the desk they gave Crystal for her work from home. Like, you are going to cry. It's like probably 6 feet by 4 feet, adjustable, like powered.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Like, it's literally got a motor. Her desk has a motor.
One day when I clean up the office, this studio has become my office. I'll give everyone a tour on YouTube. But in terms of being I'm sorry, not that I don't want to talk about how terrible I am at taking care of myself. But in terms of Vrana, though, I don't know. Do you share the same concern? I agree. I'm not really concerned about Adam Ernie. That's because it's Adam Ernie. I think the difference here, we're not looking at a lot of money. I don't really care who wins that negotiation. I don't think it'll have a big effect in the end. But in terms of Vrana, he's a Mantha. He's the same thing that Mantha was before he signed his last contract to me. So do you share the same requisite concern? And if so, or actually, yeah or no?
Yeah, I think if it does, I don't even know if it will get to arbitration because it feels like it doesn't happen that often, but it seems to be happening in Detroit more so than anywhere else in the league. That's probably a hot take. That probably isn't even true.
Bertuzzi, the only decision in the last while?
There weren't any high profile ones last year other than Bertuzzi, and I think only 1 or 2 teams had multiple players file this year, and a few have already been resolved, so I don't know how many are still outstanding, but
yeah, so, there's a volume and there's a skill level concern. There's 2 guys again who are now filing for arbitration, and there's 1 guy who you would project to be part of the longer term solution on the team. So if they don't go to arbitration, no problems at all. If one Vrana goes or both go, that's slightly concerning because the real big picture is when the prospects start to come up and become eligible for arbitration. Those are the key pieces you're trying to build the core with and win with. And you don't want to start setting a precedence or a pattern of that occurring.
You want to know my hot take?
Sure.
I think agents are asking for way more out of Detroit right now because they have infinite cap space. And think they say you can't use the squeeze thing, and Eisman goes, well, I don't end up with infinite cap space by handing out more money than I have to.
And to be fair, the rest of the NHL went full silly season in free agency this year, so that did Stevie no favors whatsoever.
Yeah, those contracts are going to...
Well, it's because they know it's basically like teams locking themselves into buyouts or, another lockout, right? Like that's really what it seems to be positioning. Like, teams give these players these contracts because they know in 6 years they're just going to buy them out, or there'll be a lockout and they'll be able to buy them out then.
Yeah. Anyways, we're going to know within 7 days of you listening to this podcast what's going to happen with the Vrana contract. So I think it's within 48 hours of the ruling. That's when the arbitrator has to make their decision. But yeah, otherwise, we'll sit tight and we'll see. I still think what we talked about last episode with using Mantha as a comparable is probably a good range to project there.
Yeah, but if I'm Vrana, I'm walking in and just slapping a photocopy of Zach Hyman's contract on the table and going,
can you see?
Please. Do you see?
Yeah. I mean, then UFA years come into play, which was the big thing with You look at the Seth Jones contract or the Dougie Hamilton contract, and then you look at Cale Makar.
Yeah.
Like McCarr should make more, but it's just RFA, UFA years.
Yeah. And then there's what Darnell Nurse is projected to be getting. God damn.
Yeah. Yeah. I would hate to have to pay a defenseman right now. Smart Detroit don't have any defensemen worth paying.
Except our top defenseman is due for a contract this summer.
Yeah. Hronik's also coming off as one of his worst years.
Yeah,
right?
that's going to be a fun negotiation. I do not envy Stevie's job this summer, honestly.
Chase Pearson signed to a two-way contract. More or less a depth signing. I don't think it's much of note, but I don't want that to be diminishing to Chase Pearson because I think he's done a good job coming up. And there is, I think, a reality here where he sees some games in Detroit. I don't know if he'll necessarily be a favorite to make it out of camp, but at the same time, you never know what happens. Detroit is very much if you earn your spot out of camp, you're going to have that spot at the starting and opening night team. He could be vying for that bottom line role, and there are going to be injuries, and so he can come up.
Hey, really, really strong defensive center with very limited offensive upside. Blashill's gonna love him. I mean, if you loved Lou Glendening, you will love Chase Pearson. Remember that year Christopher N made it out of camp for no apparent reason? Yeah, that could be Chase.
He had a good camp.
He had a good camp in the exact same way that Chase Pearson would have a good camp in that, good defensively, no offense. Like they're the same player. Obviously I'm being slightly hyperbolic there, but you get the point. That being said though, Detroit's still not hurting for good young defensive centers, especially with the, acquisition of Mitchell Stevens, who I think is probably going to be that fourth line center, who is a better defensive center and has more offensive upside. But yeah, I mean, Chase Pearson, he's usable. He's not useless, and he's cheap. So win.
Yeah, I actually was going to talk about Mitchell Stevens. That's a player that the Red Wings acquired for a...
Did you ever even brought that trade up on the podcast?
I don't know if we did, yeah.
I think that was one of those ones that got buried in like all the other news that happened.
Yeah, so the Red Wings traded next year's 6th round pick. I wish it was the 7th, because then we can get out of the draft sooner. Yeah. But no, the Red Wings traded next year's 6th round pick for Mitchell Stevens from Tampa Bay. I believe Eisman drafted Mitchell Stevens. Yep. Doing okay, Evan?
Nope. I just let me do my thing.
Yeah, well, when we do, you usually lose yourself, so we need to...
I just did. That just happened.
We're slacking. Does Kat at all times just try to rein you in at home? You guys would do well with a sheepdog.
No. Well, see, I work from home and she goes to work, right? So when she's gone, I'm like doing work, and then on my lunch break I was painting, and then when she comes home I'm gassed, but she's like has all the energy to do stuff then, and that's when we battle for like the first hour about what to do, and then we just go our own way.
Somehow not single yet. That was Evan Lobsinger, everyone. Mitchell Stevens, Eisman drafted him, and Mike Gallimore, who is obviously, I think he has great read on hockey in general, but is very well embedded within Tampa Bay hockey, has said that he liked that. He thought it was a good get for the Red Wings. Stevens is a high motor with some skill that he hasn't had a chance to flash much in the big leagues. If nothing else, he's a solid piece so long as he can stay healthy for the bottom end of the lineup in the PK. So this is essentially centerman version of Adam Ernie. Same style of player necessarily, but
I'd say more pedigree coming in because he was like a key player on Team Canada's World Junior team for a year. I think he actually played multiple years, which is pretty rare. Veleno did that actually. And, he has skill more than I would say would be projected from a guy like Chase Pearson. Shoots right, big plus, because Pearson's another lefty. Mm-hmm. And Stevens is a guy who could probably step right in and play immediately on the penalty kill. I think that's well within his realm of possibility. Yeah, so I don't know. I really, really like the trade, especially for a 6th round pick. And I don't think Stevens is that old. I want to say he's like 23.
Yeah, I believe he's 23 years old.
So
24.
So yeah, it's a great pickup. Fine age. He'll fill a role. He's going to probably be the new Glendening, honestly, but I think his offensive upside is already higher than Glendening's was. So as long as he can produce the replacement level defensive results that Glendening produced, it's fine.
So where Mitchell Stevens slots in, I think they traded for him with the intention of him. Yeah, like you're cycling out Helm and Glendening. The Red Wings fans have a lot of sentiment around those players because of, you know, what they did in Detroit. But at the end of the day, they played a very easily replaceable role. So you bring in the Stevens type. Ernie retains his spot on the team. Giovanni Smith steps in. Like that gap is being filled. So reading out the lineup here for forwards: Bertuzzi, Larkin, Vrana. Bertuzzi, Larkin, Zadina, Fabry, Suter, Vrana. No. Would you move? I think you move Bert down, and I think
we have the Guelph line, so you would go
Vrana,
Zadina, Larkin, Vrana.
Yeah, Fabry, Suter, Bertuzzi.
Yep.
And then I'm using Max's from the Athletic Detroit, his depth chart here as a reference. Mesnikov, Rasmussen, Gagne maybe as a third line.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Smith and Ernie for the wings on the fourth line, and then
I would probably put Mitchell Stevens there.
So where does Joe Veleno fit in?
First line Grand Rapids, playing a ton of minutes. I would rather, like, don't get me wrong, I would construct the team slightly differently, but I'm a nobody. So given what is likely going to happen, I think that's the most likely scenario. I think Franz Nielsen's going to eat up one of the spots in Cleary's Cabana, and then, you know, probably another depth forward. I would imagine that Pearson and Veleno play big roles in Grand Rapids, and they're the first guys on speed dial if someone gets injured.
And someone will get injured.
No, it's going to happen. The Red Wings are always one of the most injured teams in the league, so I fully expect something to happen there. But yeah, it's different because, you know, it is Blashill after all.
Yeah.
But it's going to be something along those lines. Then again, there's always, you know, there could still be trades.
I guess it depends on who gets hurt, right? Like Larkin and Suter are going to be your top two centers, so long as they're healthy. Rasmussen, Stevens, Veleno. You have other options who actually play center. And that's a noted advantage for Detroit because these guys actually play center.
Yeah. Yeah, now they have too many. What a wonderful problem.
It's no longer
None of them are good, but like at least they have them.
The organist is no longer trying to play center in between. Like he has to run down. He just gets he misses a shift. They cycle him through. Yeah, I don't know. Like I guess this all really hinges on Nielsen sitting in Cleary's Cabana.
Yeah, and you know whether or not. The Red Wings organization seems very set on Rasmussen as a center. I'm not there yet, but I get it.
I'm fine for him, honestly, as third, probably fourth line center.
I think you get more value out of Rasmussen on the wing. Like, this is just me not talking about...
Oh, on the wing.
Yeah, I think, like, Rasmussen's a better third line winger than he is a third line center just because of his tools and skill set. He's not a puck distributor. Like, that's the worst part of his game. And that's one of the key things to be a good center in the NHL. But the things he's good at are things that are beneficial to have in a winger. He can do the Bertuzzi role, clean up the front of the net, get the rebounds, tip the pucks. We know that's a strength of his. He's excellent off the cycle. He can win board battles, get the pucks. And, you know, again, that's another Bertuzzi role. You know, we could have this argument for hours, but yeah, no, I think the way Veleno plays the game is suited to center. The way Rasmussen plays the game is suited to wing. But again, I know that's not a view the Red Wings organization shares with me.
I'm all for having Rasmussen learn to play center in the depth role. Legitimately, imagine a competitive Red Wings team with Rasmussen as a fourth line center, working with the energy guys who can retrieve the puck so he doesn't necessarily have to lean so hard on being a puck distributor. And then he slots into the power play as needed.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and that's probably in Rasmussen's best interest. I'm thinking of maximizing asset value to the organization because on the wing, I could see a reality where Rasmussen's a useful second line, third line guy where he can actually contribute and he's not just treading water, so to speak, where there's a reality that he thrives.
Yeah.
Because you get, and again, I will use Joe Veleno as a guy. If they come up together, the way Veleno plays the game offsets Rasmussen perfectly, that they could play well off each other because Veleno's weaknesses are Rasmussen's strengths.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you put those two together on the third line with, you know, Nemesnikov, hypothetically, that could be an effective line in the NHL. Maybe not this year because Rasmussen and Veleno are still pretty young and have a lot of growing to do, but, you know, hypothetically.
You know something I was thinking about? If Lionel plays up and he plays on the fourth line, I'm no longer upset about those guys playing on the fourth line because it's not, Darren Helm.
Yeah.
It's like, it's Giovanni Smith and Adam Ernie is a perfectly respectable, like, you're not getting the highest skill wingers, but you're getting guys who can play. Like that, I'm pretty...
It's not just anchors and warm bodies.
Yeah.
It's not just let's weather the storm in our own zone until the next line comes out. It's like, hey, they can push the play down ice if they can.
It's not Philip Zadina with an actual rope tethered to Franz Nielsen's limp body anymore. I felt bad for Zadina because he came in and was playing with Nielsen the first year where Nielsen fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
I remember watching that and going, oh my God, this hurts. It's like the, do you guys ever have, when you were doing tryouts, the parachutes behind you as you were skating?
Oh, God.
Like sprinting down
I've
the
had
ice?
them, but not during tryouts.
We haven't had the parachutes. What I've had multiple times is a teammate where they've got your stick in one hand, their stick in the other, and you're kind of holding onto them like ski poles and dragging them up the ice as they're actively fighting against you.
And
like that was
that
was the worst.
Yeah. That's what it was like for Zadina to pull Nielsen along on that.
That was
line.
Philip Zadina's entire rookie season.
It wasn't Nielsen and Helm, was it?
I think it was for a chunk there, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cruel and unusual.
And he was a half a point per game.
I was going to say,
like,
I'm all for, play with veterans to learn the parts of the game that people don't necessarily appreciate. But for a guy who needs to produce to be good, that was a little bit.
that was something.
Okay. Well, the name of the game here is that the bottom of the Red Wings lineup is going to be largely dictated by camp and by injuries, which isn't necessarily a hot take. We'll see what's to come on Vrana and Ernie, especially Vrana. So stay tuned. I'm sure that'll happen the minute we post an episode, at which point we'll have to actually cut the brakes on Evan's car so he won't drive away.
there's no chance. I'll just sprint.
Zero. He'll run home.
I will run home.
You will not.
Conjure the energy. I'll just get all around your vision and call an Uber.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He's going to be hiding in your neighbor's bushes on the Uber app.
I mean, you've seen my neighborhood. Do you really want to take that? You look rich, Evan. They'll have you here.
I'll be hiding the hat and taking the sweater off, so I'm just a guy in a t-shirt and shorts.
Hey, that guy's wearing a sweater with the Masters logo on it. Get him.
Yeah.
Nobody around here knows what the Masters are.
You're absolutely right. They all play at Rockway. Jack Eichel. I have so much respect and confusion for everyone in this scenario. This is a quick rundown, and I know everyone's heard the story. It's been a long battle between Jack Eichel and the Buffalo Sabres. Jack Eichel, who wants out of Buffalo, the Sabres, who seem ready to trade him. Jack Eichel, who needs some kind of surgery. The Sabres, after getting Eichel to agree to wait for 12 weeks to rest and recover, seem to agree. Jack Eichel says he wants disc replacement, which hasn't been done in an NHL player before. The Buffalo Sabres, who by the CBA have final say in terms of what happens to their asset, say, no, we want disc fusion or spinal fusion.
Yeah. I too listened to that 31 Thoughts podcast.
That doctor was really, I really appreciated his.
I went into that podcast before going, I can't believe nobody's paid Buffalo's asking price for a legit superstar, to listen to that going, oh yeah, no, I get it.
Okay, first of all, I know of the surgeries, and he was biased. You have to understand.
Of course he was biased, because he was the one that was wanting to perform it.
I do think one thing that people are selling short here. Very quick summary of the two surgeries. One of them, you're replacing a disc. One of them, you're removing the herniated disc you're removing the herniated disc in both. One of them, you're replacing it with an artificial one, and the other one, you're fusing the two discs above and below together. The problem is Jack Eichel's 24. It's going to happen again, and it's probably going to happen again after that, and the fusions are going to keep happening. So yeah, that's going to be bad and painful for his career, and that's one thing, but it's going to be bad for his quality of life.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you're paying the guy 10 point whatever a year, if it's 10 flat, I can't remember. And yes, whatever you do with him is going to dictate how your rebuild goes. But the guy also wants a good quality of life when he's 50. He doesn't want to constantly be immobile and in pain with his back and his neck and everything else. So I'm torn as to what to think. I don't think he's necessarily in the right completely, but I'm just really torn on this one. And it wasn't made better by the fact that his agents went out and put out a statement which
just
tanked.
Sent everything nuclear. Yeah.
Did you see he made a Twitter account today?
Eichel did?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Hasn't tweeted anything, but
Has he
Twitter.
followed us yet?
No, surprisingly. I wonder, I should DM him. Maybe he hasn't found the handle.
That's fair. But yeah, the doc did a good enough job of selling me on it does. I believe him that the disc replacement's better, at least for no other reason than quality of life. But now I fully understand why other teams are hesitating here, because they're like, we don't know what we're getting after this. Now, the angle the Sabres have been taking a lot, which is a bit disingenuous, is no other hockey players have this surgery. We don't know what we're getting. And then the doc's like, well, yeah, but tons of other professional athletes have got this done. It just hasn't happened to be a hockey players. Like, I've done it on rugby players, and it's turned out well. And he did a pretty good job of outlining, hey, they both have risks. I'm not coming in here and telling you this is a 100% success rate. And if I'm a team who's about to pay 4 premium assets for Jack Eichel, if I hear anything other than 100%, I'm wavering. But the most absurd part about this to me doesn't even come down to the Sabres or Eichel. It comes down to the NHL. How is this not Eichel's decision? It's his body. Like, quality of life should factor into these decisions. Like, I absolutely get mitigating risk from the team standpoint and having to approach players as assets. As cold as that is, I get it. Jack Eichel hopefully lives to be 80, 90, 100 years old. He's going to be a hockey player for probably 15 more years max. So this complicated of a medical procedure should not have a bearing on just those 15 years.
I understand. I think this is something that probably should have been worked out in the CBA by the Players Association if it was going to be an issue. I think
it probably will be in the next one, because this is the first time it's been prominent.
I think on a broad level, I think you've hit the nail on the head here, because on a broad level, you do have to kind of take that cold, objective take. Like, these are assets, and you can't have Eichel going to see some like nut job uncertified Yahoo who's going to inject him with, like, I don't know, mushed up strawberries and said you can now fly. Like, you want to get away from the crazy shit that's going to destroy a player's career, and all of a sudden you're on the hook and you have no legal recourse for the millions of dollars you owe them. Or, they've just tanked your organization or your Stanley Cup run or whatever. But this is an edge case in which the Sabres aren't wrong to have hesitation, because it hasn't been done in an active NHL player before. As much as it's nuanced, that is context that they can stand on. I think that's a fair argument. But we've also established that this isn't some unknown surgery. It's been happening for decades. It's been really successful. And there's a legitimate argument to be made for Eichel to say, hey, this is going to help me not only in the game, but in the future. And I think this is the edge case where at the end of the day, I swing Eichel's way, but I don't blame Buffalo for the hesitation. I think Buffalo maybe even would be okay with the surgery, but the moment they let him have that surgery, you know what happens? Trade value goes down, because teams are going to say, well, we don't know how he's going to recover.
Yeah.
So they're going to say that about any.
Yeah, they're going to say either way.
Well, no, but the spinal fusion has a high success rate, so they know he'll recover, and they know he'll be good for the next 6 to 8 years, which is all they care about, because that's his prime.
If that doc is to be believed, the odds were not that different. I think they were actually in favor of the disc replacement. But the one thing he said that definitely swung me to Eichel's side, and it was a little thing that he kind of had as a throw-in, but I'm like, well, yeah, like that makes sense. He's like, if we do the disc replacement and it doesn't work, the way to correct that is a fusion.
Yeah.
So they're like, try it. We might end up at the same result either way, but if we don't end up there, it is definitely better for him. His worst case scenario is we end up doing the fusion anyway.
What they're trying to do right now is maximize value in every way by absorbing no risk. They want the surgery to happen when he's not a Buffalo Sabre.
Yeah.
And they want the price as if this was a fully healthy, no drama or baggage attached Jack Eichel. And look, if I was a GM, I would do the same thing, because if you're ever trading a Jack Eichel, you have to get 130% value for him. And the Buffalo Sabres, through, I don't want to say no fault of their own, but through a circumstance that they certainly would change if they could, are now having to sell Jack Eichel for, 70 to 80% of value, which that is terrible for a hockey team.
And now we get into the strategy part of it, because are we at the point now where trade value starts going down? Because I think we've established this decision is out of Buffalo's hands. Quite honestly, they don't care about what surgery he has anymore because it's not going to be their problem. It's going to be up to the team that trades him, and most teams are probably only going to trade for him if they're going to let him do the disc replacement, right? Or else they end up in the same problem and he won't play for them either. So I don't even think Buffalo cares about that. It's just about value now. Now we know what they're asking, and for 100% of Jack Eichel, it's a perfectly reasonable ask. I would do the same thing, maybe ask for more. The problem is the recovery time for either surgery. If it doesn't happen very, very soon, he's missing a good chunk of this season. So for a team that's trading for Jack Eichel, presumably fancies themselves a contender. Or else why are you trading for Jack Eichel, right? There could be teams like maybe New Jersey, hypothetically, on the up and up, and they're like, okay, maybe this is the piece that puts us over the hump. But the more time Jack Eichel misses, that just further tanks his value. They're like, well, if we're only getting half a season at Jack Eichel and we lose a half a season, we're not throwing you that fourth piece. Like, we need him this year. Like, if it's hypothetically Colorado, we're winning the cup this goddamn year, we need him for 82 games. Or it's New Jersey goes, hey, we think we could be good this year. We would like to make the playoffs, but to make the playoffs, we need Jack Eichel for 82 games.
Yeah.
Hear me out. He doesn't play until the playoffs start.
Okay.
To circumvent the cap.
You joke.
So I made this joke when I was on the Hockey 411 podcast. I'm like, for me,
no more plugging podcasts till I get invited. I'm the only one who hasn't been invited to another podcast.
I would hate it, but I would love it for the maximum chaos. If Tampa Bay does this. If Tampa Bay does this.
We'd have to have Brad record from the basement because he'd be screaming the entire time.
Well, no, this is have gone so far past the line of what I would hate, it would circle back to I love it.
Well, if it's Buffalo and the dumpster fire they could maybe get a Yanni Gord out of that.
Well, that'd be hard because he plays for Seattle.
That's
now.
My point.
Got him. You juked me. I didn't think you were paying enough attention. That's
before everything blurred into one. That's about the last thing I remember.
But yeah, so getting back to my ultimate point is Kevin Adams at the point right now where the longer he waits, he's now back to diminishing value? Like, is this?
Yeah, I think he's already there.
Is this as good as it's going to get? Whatever offer he has on the table is as good of an offer as he's going to get from whatever team, whatever it is.
Or, okay. First, I'm gonna let you be Adams. You have two choices. One, trade him now for let's say less than you'd be able to get for him at full health.
Yeah. Or
two, you let him have the disc replacement and then trade him after he heals, or take the risk. No,
I'm trading him now.
You're not even risking the surgery.
No, because if the surgery goes poorly, because he's not going to play for the Sabres, so how do we know that it's going to go well? We don't know if that disc replacement is successful until he starts taking impact in an NHL game.
Let's say,
because Eichel's skating right now, he probably looks like Jack Eichel. He's just in a lot of pain. There's videos of him training on the ice in Boston as we speak. So
deep fake. It's actually Evan.
Yeah,
true.
No, it's definitely not Evan. I saw him hit the net in one of the shots.
If I'm Adams and let's say we go with option 2 here, because I would give that serious consideration. I'd say, okay, we'll do the replacement, but you're gonna have to play some games for Buffalo because you're gonna have to show other teams that you can play. Actually, I don't know.
Here's the thing, though.
Risking the surgery.
He's playing for Buffalo. Like, who's left in Buffalo? You're not helping his trade value if he plays any games for the Sabres. So the reported ask when they were negotiating with Vegas was Riley Smith, Nick Hague, Peyton Krebs in a first.
Which Vegas should do yesterday, right?
That's what I would have thought before I got all the nuance about what's actually going on with this injury. So let's say, hypothetically, Vegas's offer is we will give you Riley Smith, Nick Hague, and a first, but we're not giving you Krebs. If you're Buffalo, do you take that?
No, you tell them to kick rocks because the first one's already underselling Jack Eichel.
But let's say hypothetically this is a similar offer from every team. This is just the happenstance players that fit the bill for top prospect, first round pick, yada yada.
I'm not moving Jack Eichel for that. He's for better for worse. You control the contract. I would sooner. I find it
okay. So then here's my question, because I'd be on the fence about it too, because I don't love that return. What's your alternative?
You risk the surgery,
but he's not playing for the Sabres. You think? I don't think value changes.
This is the NFL. Players can't hold out the same.
Here's the gamble you're taking, and this is I think the only scenario, and it is possible, the only scenario where trade value goes up for Eichel. He gets the disc replacement surgery now while he's with Buffalo. He goes through his recovery. I'm going to pick a team out of my ass. It doesn't matter. The Rangers. Panarin gets hurt in camp. Holy shit, we're panicking now. Now they pony up the
They got Ryan Reeves to fill in.
Yeah, so
I don't see a problem.
I think that's the only way trade value goes up for Eichel, because everybody knows he's not playing till he gets the disc replacement. So the context of the surgery doesn't even matter anymore, because Buffalo said, we're not letting you do it, and we're going to make it another team's problem. And almost every team trading for him understands that he's getting that surgery and they have to be comfortable with it. So from a trade value standpoint, it's irrelevant now. We can go into this trade assuming he's getting the disc replacement, and we won't know how successful that is until he plays actual hockey. And if he plays hockey for the Buffalo Sabres, that is not putting his value up. At least if I'm Kevin Adams, I'm assuming that's not putting his value up, because who's his winger this year? Zemgus Girgensons? I don't even know. So yeah, you pray, let him have the surgery and pray someone key gets hurt on a good team, because that's the only way you're getting a better offer now.
Well, let's see how that one unfolds. You said gambling, and I thought Evander Kane. That's a weird situation.
Yeah, boy, we're a long way away from the money phone.
Yeah, we really are.
Yeah.
That didn't work out well.
No. And you know what? You're innocent till proven guilty. I just have to say, this whole Evander Kane situation.
I mean, if your wife's throwing you under the bus like that, you're probably guilty, right?
Well,
No,
soon to be ex-wife, they're estranged, and there's a lot of tension there. And like, without commenting too much on the familial stuff, someone who has personal reasons to be mad at you, those people don't always act rationally. I'm not going to say
there's a half truth there, at least.
I'm not going to say what I believe personally. Which is,
does the guy who had to declare bankruptcy because of gambling debts have a gambling problem? I think we can make that logical leap. But making the leap from a gambling problem to shaving points off games, that's a whole nother
He's like
leap.
one of the best players on the Sharks last year.
And he just had a career year statistically.
maybe he was betting on himself to win. Maybe he just really believed in himself.
And that's possible.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Could he have been betting on Sharks games or his own? Sure. I'm not ruling that out, but shaving, I think, is a real stretch here, because he had a career year.
Well, I don't know if I don't know if anyone's been saying shaving. I think this is an awkward topic, because you can't drill down, because it's all very hot and very sensitive.
Yeah, it is. And I understand what the rules are. And if he pulled a Pete Rose here, I get it. But I'm also of the mindset that if I set the rules, I would have had no problem with what Pete Rose did, because if you're betting on your team to win, you're just giving yourself extra motivation to win, and I'm fine with that.
Well, here's the thing: the NHL put out a statement within 2.6 seconds of Kane's soon-to-be ex-wife's story going up. And there was a lot of justified backlash about the NHL's very strong, fast statement about this and not about other things, like the Chicago Blackhawks alleged sexual assault cover-up. And that's fair, and I don't want to diminish that. I want to say, though, that statement wasn't for the fans. That statement was for the bookies and the gambling companies who are paying the NHL a lot of the NHL. That's a lot of revenue for the NHL. That was for them to say, hey, we take this seriously. Under no circumstance are we going to tolerate this, because we need your money.
If they think there's even a whiff of strong evidence against Evander Kane, they're going to throw the book at him, because they cannot allow a soft judgment on this with the gambling coming into the league. He will get the full brunt of the law, or the NHL law, thrown at him. And he's done, really. I mean, sounds like a pretty crummy person, from several things, and NHL won't let this stand if they find any evidence that he's betting on games, win or lose.
The NBA still hasn't recovered from the Tim Donaghy reffing scandal. That is the worst case scenario if you were running a league, but the NBA still gets comments every single playoffs about fixed. That's a bad call. They're fixing the games. They're balancing the games. And that was a decade and a half ago.
And there was a lot of traction on the one stat that was going around these playoffs with Chris Paul's record with the one ref.
Yeah.
It was staggering. He was 0-16, or I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was that can't be a coincidence levels of what is going on here. And then you factor in a Vander Kane situation happening now, gambling just becoming a thing in hockey. And then on top of that, you had the Tim Peel incident this year. And yeah, every major betting company that deals with the NHL right now is probably just kicking down their door going, what the hell, guys? So yeah, for Evander Kane personally, this could not have come out at a worse possible time.
Who is it that has a terrible record with Chris Lee? Who now that Tim Peel's Montreal, or was it Philly? Or maybe both.
I don't know, but I know it was Chris Lee, and I remember the stat that you're seeing the stat that you're talking about, and it was again the same thing, pretty staggering.
Or was it the Islanders? Somebody in the playoffs this year, right?
Yeah, because it was a playoff storyline. It was right around the time actually. I think the Chris Paul one came out, so it probably was a team that went pretty deep in the playoffs. So maybe Islanders or Canadians.
Well, I mean, everyone loses when Chris Lee referees your game.
You know who really loses when he refs? The fans.
Yeah. Part of everyone, Brad. It was the Habs. You were right.
It was the Habs.
You were right, Evan.
Yeah, don't look over there.
I looked at Brad. Sometimes people...
I had the timeline right.
Sometimes people get our names wrong.
Yeah, you got the like finer details. I just like kind of took a swing and got it right at the high level
132.
detail.
Let's go.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's one that's going to be... Every year we get the NHL is not as fun as the NBA on or off the ice/court. And I think the NHL has them beat on both fronts right now.
Yeah, this offseason has been wild.
We literally have not even talked about Marc-Andre Fleury being traded and finding out via his agent, who found out on Twitter.
Yeah.
Who might have retired but chose to be a buzzkill and actually play for Chicago. I thought that would have been funny if he retired.
I think he confirm he's going to play.
Yeah, he's playing. So
that's going to be weird to see Marc-Andre Fleury in a Chicago jersey.
It's going to be bizarre. Yeah, I mean, hey, Chicago just got at least 1 year of a Vezina caliber goalie for nothing, pretty much. So good for them on that gamble. But there was a minute there where they actually would have traded for cap recapture penalty, which honestly Chicago deserves through and through. But yeah, we can't have all the fun things. Some minor storylines. Tomas Tatar found a team, New Jersey Devils, 2 years, $4.5 million.
Finally.
Yeah.
Wow. That one. For all the other contracts are going around, everybody was just kind of like pointing at Tatar going, what?
Well, I think he was holding, because when I saw that money, I'm like, oh, that's not a little bit of money. He was making sure he was getting his.
Yeah.
He probably wanted more term, but he probably didn't skimp on the money. He didn't want to do what Duclair did, which is go and have to play for what was it? Like
prove it contract. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think was shitty because I think Duclair had proved it by then.
Yeah.
So,
Duclair also negotiates his own contract. So take that for whatever it's worth.
Probably a terrible idea.
Yeah. I wouldn't do that.
No, absolutely not.
Unless I was the pinnacle of my sport, I wouldn't even bother.
Man, I rued the day we decided to produce our own podcast, honestly.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool to see.
And New Jersey, man, I like their offseason a lot.
I think they have the tools to do something. Very much New York from last year, who New York had an extraordinary amount of bad luck. But New York from last year did a lot of things where I'm like, hey, if all things go right, you could compete. I think New Jersey could do the same thing in the Metro.
Yeah, and they're kind of, my gut's still telling me they did this a year early, but they identified that there's an elite talent available on the market in Dougie Hamilton, and it's hard to get elite talent, so you almost never say no. So they got him at a more reasonable contract than I thought he would have got. Mm-hmm. They got, I don't love their future of goaltending, but Blackwood and Bernier is more than a good enough tandem. They've got their future star in Jack Hughes and a really good prospect pool around him with a lot of really good players on the roster who are of the right age to start turning the roster around. So, that's kind of what I hope Detroit does. It's, rebuild, all in.
Yeah.
And obviously Detroit's not there yet, but it's been fascinating watching New Jersey because I think they've done a really good job of it. I don't think they're going to be particularly good this year, but yeah, I don't think they're very, very far off at all. Like if Jack Hughes takes a step this year, they could be there this year.
And Subban comes off the books next year, which is a huge contract off. So
more money to play with. Alexander Holtz probably comes up and is ready at that point. And,
Luke Hughes is getting close.
Yeah.
Will be closer.
Ty Smith will take another step this year. Like, they're in a good spot.
And they've got Nico Hischier, who seems to look better every year.
Yeah, he just has to stay healthy. He's great. He's an underrated player, but he's just got to stay healthy. You almost forget he's their captain now.
Yeah. He's been a
That's such a classic Swiss thing. Like, just so like quiet, goes about their business.
Because
is it kind of trippy that there's 2 Swiss captains in the NHL right now?
There is a little bit.
You can pay me to guess who the other one is.
Like, it's a legit recent major trophy winner. You don't have to go that far down.
I have no idea.
I'll give you a hint. It's the Norris.
Oh, is Roman Josi Swiss?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes a lot. No,
Did you think
really?
Swedish?
I didn't think Swiss. I don't know what I thought.
Italian. It's right there in his name.
Oh, get out. Get out. Say bye to Abby on the way out, but get out. And hey, they have almost 15 million cap space right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I said, when you decide you're coming out of the rebuild, I'm a fan of being aggressive generally, as long as you do it well, and New Jersey has.
Yeah. John Tortorella, his next job is with ESPN.
I love how he dislikes the media immensely and now is in media.
Yeah, that's like going to a restaurant and being rude to every waiter that you've ever had at that restaurant and then deciding to like work there.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fun. I think John Tortorella is the kind of guy who doesn't talk to media because he doesn't feel like it's his job to as head coach. But very obviously, like imagine going to the cottage with John Tortorella, a few beers, that'd be a fun guy. I think he'll be good.
Dude, he's like a big dog rescue guy. Like John Tortorella just seems like a good person away from the arena. Now here's the thing. He's already done a media stint with TSN and it was boring as hell. Like he did nothing of note there, and I think it's going to be more of the same here. I'm going to appreciate his insight.
Not if Chuck has anything to say about it.
ESPN's really got to just kind of be like, we're trying to get inroads in hockey. You've got a long leash, and just let him do his thing. And I think it will be good on its own. Don't try to cage him. Just let him kind of flourish.
I think ESPN's going to push him to do that. I don't think Torts will. Torts is still angling for another job, and he is not going to want to piss off future potential employers.
Pierre McGuire pissed off everyone in North America and is now the heir apparent to the Ottawa Senators.
He pissed off rational hockey fans. Nobody in hockey management is rational.
Yeah, but
he is their guy. He is old hockey man that NHL front offices love.
Yeah, if he was like a young guy, big into the analytics, who spoke his mind, that'd be one thing. But he's like quintessential, old hockey guy. He'll be back in there, no problem, regardless of what he says.
And what Pierre McGuire did is he employed by the Leafs right now? Absolutely,
we might find out sooner rather than later.
But no. Tortorella, I don't think he's going to go off on anybody because he doesn't want to be a media analyst. He wants to be an NHL coach. And if he says the wrong thing about the wrong team in an inflammatory way, and then that's the next coach opening that comes available, he ain't getting that job, and he knows that.
I feel like he's firm but fair.
Oh, he's a good hockey mind. I legitimately am interested in what John Tortorella has to say about the game of hockey. I just don't think we're going to get the, feuds with Brooksy John Tortorella on TV. I hope we do.
Torts and Brooksy.
They should call him in.
Yeah. I want nothing more than to see that side of John Tortorella, but I'm not optimistic about it.
Got to file this under topics I didn't think Brad would have this much of an opinion on.
Really?
Yeah.
I totally thought he would.
Do you think that
who doesn't have strong opinions about John Tortorella?
Did you think that he just has he has a lot of opinions on everything, or this is something that he definitely would have an opinion on?
Brad just has a strong opinions on everything.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, well, time for those opinions to end because we're going to jump into overtime and we're going to do our Patreon support. We're not going to do our Patreon.
You do you, buddy. I'm married.
We're going to take questions from our Patreon supporters who, I apologize for that statement, who are the reason we are able to do this show and I am able to make embarrassing comments like that. Winged Wheel Podcast. Nope. Patreon.com/Winged Wheel Podcast if you choose to support. Wow, I am struggling to the end of this episode.
Welcome to my world.
Aaron Hudson says, what kind of offer should the Red Wings make to Lionel Messi? Hey, Eisenman will send him to arbitration too. He takes no prisoners.
Yeah, Detroit FC needs a striker, right?
Detroit City FC.
He's
Yeah,
a
I don't know.
midfielder, right?
Yeah, he's a true midfielder. They've played him as striker before, but
Why would you do that? Isn't he like just magical with the ball?
yeah.
I don't know anything about soccer.
Brad says we can't talk about other sports.
Okay.
We know we filled our other sports quota with Evans golf at the beginning.
Oh, that's true. Lower Spirit says, hey, everyone, I'm Brandon, and I'm a new supporter. Welcome, Brandon. Thank you so much for your support. I subscribed finally after your amazing coverage of the draft. While I'm a big hockey fan, I'm also a filmmaker who makes a TV show called Lower Spirits. My question is, if you had to pick an actor or actress, living or dead, to play for the Wings this season, who would you pick? Oh, this is going to be a terribly boring answer. I want Ben Affleck just for him to look exhausted with the team.
Hold on. I got to call back to our interview, but I'm forgetting who it was. Who was the guy that Igor said was a really good hockey player at his LA Celebrity pickups?
Oh, I can't remember.
It was the guy from Friday Night Lights, wasn't it?
Was it really?
What's it? I think it was. It was like one of those like...
Listeners, go back and listen.
Yeah,
Tweet us.
you know which one. That guy, because apparently Igor says he's legitimately good. So we'll take that. Or we'll have Keanu Reeves slap on his 1980s goal equipment and run with that. I would also love that. Keanu was a goalie. So was Steve Carell.
Give me some John Cena.
Oh, no.
He's invisible out there on the
Hold
ice.
on.
Exactly.
For pure entertainment value... oh no, he's not an actor. I was going to say, but if we're doing non-hockey players on the Red Wings, I want to see JJ Watt truck guys because he played like high-level hockey growing up, and that would be entertaining as all hell.
Al Robbins says tomorrow will be 69 days till the Red Wings season opener. Celebrate accordingly.
Nice.
I'm new here. Says any suggestions for good resources to ask intelligent questions besides the podcast, of course. You guys are awesome. Proud to be a new patron. Let them come naturally. I think the best questions are always the fun ones that you can tell came organically.
Just no food questions. We can't do that anymore.
No, more food questions. I think they're fun.
No, you're the one who carries the most stress over them.
Yeah,
I give my opinions and I'm perfectly fine 10 seconds later and you sit on them for years.
that's true. You haven't said anything incorrect. AJ Voss says, who would be on your Red Wings Mount Rushmore? The 4 most important and influential Red Wings of all time. To make it interesting, we're also going to include builders. So along with our glut of legendary players, you have to consider former/current owners, GMs, and coaches. Mine would be Gordy, Stevie, Illich, and Adams.
Gordy, Stevie, Nick, Illich.
I'm with you on Gordy, Stevie, Nick.
I mean, they were the dead things before Mike took over. Like he saved the Red Wings.
Do you not consider like a Ted Lindsay? Do you not consider...
I absolutely consider about 10 other people.
That's really tough.
It is. And then plus Mike Illich had the whole Rosa Parks thing. Like that's the tiebreaker.
Well, I agree with the Illich, Stevie, Gordy for sure. I think the fourth one is where the debate sort of opens up. My initial thought was Ted Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
I almost would argue Ted Lindsay deserves more on the NHL Mount Rushmore because of what he did for the NHLPA.
Yeah.
Like don't get me wrong, he's one of the greatest Red Wings of all time.
You want to see me piss off Brad? How about Alex Delvecchio?
Not even. I love him. Not even in the conversation. You're high.
I
know you said that, and because that was the exact response you were looking for, and I gave you what you wanted, but it still needed to be said.
Jake Bloom says, hey guys, I was hoping VRANA would be signed to a 4 to 6 year deal, but with only 6 days until his potential hearing, I'm starting to get nervous that won't end up happening. If he does end up going to arbitration and gets 2 years, who do you think is more likely to be traded in the next 2 years, Bertuzzi or VRANA? I still think it's Bert.
If they both go to arbitration, oof.
Well,
Whichever one of them carries the higher.
No, but Bert's signed.
Yeah, whichever, but they're going to have both going to have 2-year contracts and both would have went to arbitration at some point. So it's all like equal footing at that point. Whoever has the better season, that would be who's more likely to get traded because pump up those assets in the trade value.
Something about Bertuzzi's name still that draws interest, regardless if he plays 7 games or all 82. His name will still pop up.
That's fair. I don't think VRANA carries the same name recognition around the league yet.
Colorado 14ers says since Winged Wheel podcast night is on November 13th against the Habs, doesn't that all but guarantee that Bert will have the hockey club initials on his chest instead of the Winged Wheel for that game? Oh, that would be uncomfortable to watch.
What? I don't understand.
Like he'd be in a Habs uniform.
Oh,
I think if Burt gets moved, it'll be closer to the deadline.
would think.
I have no gut instinct on anything Stevie's going to do. For all we know, we're gearing up for a 6-year extension next July with Bertuzzi.
Yeah.
After all the trade talk.
Who else would you like to see in addition to Montreal's first next year Stevie obtained to get the deal done?
That's reasonable.
Suzuki's off the table. He's gotten too good, obviously.
Oh, yeah, way too good. Caulfield's off the table. I'm just trying to comb through their prospect system right now.
They're not going to move Romanov.
No. Caden Gooley?
Yeah.
Caden Gooley, I think, would be a decent option there. Evan, if you say Logan May, you have to leave.
That's who I initially thought of. But I
I know you.
Jacob Rivard says, who do you think is due for a better season than last year, and who do you think will regress this year?
Hronik, obvious answer for better season. Like, he has to.
Do you think it will happen, though?
It depends who he's playing with. I think if he's the guy that draws Nick Leddy, yes, absolutely. If he's still tied to a Boneacre, then maybe not. And then regress? Ernie.
I agree on Ernie. I think Ernie's not going to be... I don't think he'll be as quiet as he was when Detroit first acquired him. I just don't see the heater that he was on.
No, he was what?
Season.
Outside of Vrana, he led the team in goals. That definitely ain't happening.
I think Zadina's play will translate to more counting stats.
Yeah.
I thought he was good all year. It just didn't really translate onto the stat sheet.
Yeah, I almost don't even think it's going to be progression for Zadina. I just think it's going to be, good luck starting, a little more good luck going his way rather than entirely bad luck.
Stevie Langerman says, hey, gents, first off, the energy and vibe of you guys being back in the studio last episode was awesome. So stoked you knuckleheads get to do the pod in person again. Knuckleheads is right. Which team would you say won free agency this year and who lost?
Like I already talked about, I love what New Jersey did. And who lost? Are we talking short-term or long-term? Because I think Edmonton's legitimately better this year, but I think they are absolutely put themselves in a position that this is like a 2-year window and then they are screwed.
New York had a weird offseason.
Yeah, the Rangers had a horrible offseason. They are definitely a contender for losers. Seattle?
You know what? I'm going to come out and say it. I don't know if I can be hesitant about it anymore. I don't like what Ron Francis has done. I think he's overplayed his hand. I think he's played bad hands. I think we didn't even mention they signed an illegal contract with Grubauer that they had to redo because it didn't fit the CBA. What a mess.
Coming out of the expansion draft, I didn't love what they did, but I could sit there and go, I understand it. This is a future play. He's maximizing cap space. He's going to weaponize his cap space. They're going to be towards the bottom of the league, accumulate draft picks. They're treating it like a rebuild, essentially. Not what I would have done fully, but I get it and I understand it. And then he went and signed a ton of bad contracts in free agency. Too much money, too long. And I'm like, well, that is the exact opposite of what you just did. If this was your play, sure, you made the wrong choices in the expansion draft, but his free agency versus expansion draft were opposite of each other, and it doesn't make sense. And I think now Seattle's a team going in this season that's going to be like the Minnesota Wild in the mushy middle.
Yeah,
sort of makes you wonder if the owners, they went with the expansion draft. They thought all the planning seemed all well and good, and then there was the fan reaction. They're like, "What the hell are we doing? Go out there and put us a team together." And then that was sort of and that's a terrible way to start a franchise.
Yeah.
I think what Seattle did was worst case scenario. They made themselves mediocre so they don't get the long-term or the short-term benefit. That division's terrible. I'm if I had to make my season predictions today, I probably have them in the final playoff spot there. But I mean, Minnesota made the playoffs every year basically for 20 years and they have nothing to show for it. It seems like that was Seattle's play.
I would say Winnipeg were one of the biggest winners. They re-signed Stasny to a nice deal. They literally got Dylan DeMello on the back end.
You love that, eh?
I love that so much.
And then a nice piece of Schmidt for the next pairing.
And they got Nate Schmidt. So I think they've done an excellent job to really shore up the back end. And their only true weakness, in my opinion, was their defense last year. Like Hellebuyck's a Vezina caliber goalie. They can now score. They can score in waves, and now their defense look really good. So I think Winnipeg was one of the big winners of free agency.
And you got to assume Dubois will bounce back this year too.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Stay healthy, but yeah. Second, any chance, this is good because I actually had a thought about this. Any chance we could do some kind of Winged Wheel podcast golf outing?
Yes.
Hey, next spring/summer, hopefully the borders are a little bit more open so people can make it from the other side as well in benefit of the Jamie Daniels Foundation.
Oh my God.
Someone
Golf
get
tournament?
Brad, you and I wouldn't have to do a thing. You know, Evan's all over that.
Somebody please get me out to the Detroit Golf Club. I want to play there so bad. That's where they have the Rocket Mortgage. Like, it's a beautiful old track. I want to play it so bad.
If you have
you also have to factor in mine and Ryan's golf game.
Oh, they won't let you. You can drop me off. You guys can to the Muni course.
Okay, listen, I'm a competent golfer, as you now see.
You would be fine.
Okay.
Some of the old people
I've
I've
never
played with at like expensive clubs, they are only there because they made a lot of money.
I would not play there
That's
until
reassuring.
I've practiced for 3 years straight.
I get nervous on those courses because they're long courses, and I'm like, I have faith in myself that I can hit it far enough, but I'm like, I'd leave myself less room to make up for the mistakes, so this could get off the rails fast.
Carter Mazer Stan Club says, imagine Nathan McKinnon, who can't get that wagon of a team out of the second round, telling Stanley Cup champion Darren Helm what it takes to win. It's going to be the opposite. Darren Helm's going to walk in with a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and a drumstick in his hand and show him who's boss. Ruthless and Toothless says, I'm going to go out on a limb. The Wings squeak into the playoffs. I don't normally dabble in the ridiculous, but something just tells me it's going to happen.
I like what they've done. Dom released his most improved teams in the offseason article, and the Red Wings were very high on that list. They were 7th, I believe. Not dramatically, but 32 teams. Mind you, there was a lot of addition by subtraction there because I know not everybody wants to hear it, but Luke Glendening and Darren Helm were negative value players, so losing them for nothing actually improved the Red Wings. But then obviously picking up Leddy, Suter, Osterley, Nedeljkovic especially was a huge bump. Yeah, the Red Wings are legitimately better. I said this before, and it bears repeating now, and we'll probably repeat it a few more times. They're not in the Central anymore. There is a very strong reality where the Red Wings improve as a hockey team this year, but decline in the standings because they got to avoid being in a division with Boston, Tampa, Florida, and Toronto last year.
Yeah.
There's no way the Red Wings squeak into the playoffs. So this is now the Thunderdome, and there's too many teams on the going up.
Yeah.
I don't love the Metro as much as everybody else, so there's a reality where the Atlantic gets 5 playoff spots, but even then, like, I really hate everything Montreal's done, and I will argue till I'm blue in the face. Last year was an aberration. But they're still ahead of the Red Wings and the team that's more likely to take that 5th seed in the Atlantic.
Jay Kiefer says, how many minutes does Mo Seider get next season, over or under 18?
Oh shit, that's my exact prediction. Just knowing, again, it sounds like it's meant to be a criticism, and it kind of is, but it's, past habits, under. Blashill doesn't play rookies. Like, that's just, he never has.
I'm going to say under, and I don't even think it's a bad idea.
Yeah, my initial reaction was an under as well, and I don't think that's bad either. Like, I don't know if we should send him out to the Wolves immediately.
As long as he's not playing with Danny DeKeyser, I really don't care what he does this year. I know. I'd rather him play with Stahl or Osterley. Leddy's probably not likely because Hronik Leddy's probably the top pairing, but still.
Tony H says, hey guys, it's my birthday. Hey, happy birthday, Tony. Today was my first birthday that I had to work, but I got surprised with a nice steak dinner, a paid-for round of golf, and a 12-pack of my favorite beer when I got home. What was your biggest surprise you received for a birthday?
This year that people remembered it.
Wait.
Remember when I forgot his birthday last year?
Yeah, 1 second.
I remember.
Keep talking.
I messaged him in the morning.
I remembered yours.
Yeah. No,
I literally sent you a text that morning.
I messaged you too. I did not forget his. We messaged.
No, yeah.
in chat?
I messaged him in chat. If you didn't respond, you're just an asshole.
No, sorry. I thought Brad's birthday was in my calendar for this month. It's not this month, is it?
No, it was in July.
Oh, that's why I could
It was a few weeks ago.
Let me wander. Just let me wander.
I think I got a surprise party once. That was literally the best surprise that I've had.
I got a surprise party, so you can imagine how that went.
I got a surprise party, and Crystal knows how much I hate surprise parties. So
You two hate fun, eh? Like, you just live grumpy all the time.
This is going to be the dumbest statement I've ever made coming from someone who actively hosts a podcast and is going to be hosting an event at a Red Wings game. I hate being the center of attention in scenarios like that.
Oh, me too.
I hate it.
I love doing our meetups and stuff, but man, am I gassed after.
Yeah, it's a lot of social energy.
The fact you two are going to be there with me literally makes a difference because it's not me.
I'm going to do nothing for like 2 weeks afterwards.
This is the problem. This is why it's a bad thing that you've cultivated yourself as the favorite on this show.
It's a double-edged sword. I love it, and I'm going to pay dearly for it.
Yeah, like there's the literal most awkward situation in human history for me is when I'm sitting at a table and people are singing happy birthday to me. I would rather do anything else. Anything else.
Motorboatin, son of a Bert, says, congrats on the LCA night. You've come so far and truly deserve it. How long until we can call you the official show of the Red Wings? I don't know about that, but we're happy to keep working with the team. It's been really great so far. And when do we get comp season tickets? Oh, man. Shooting for the sky here. I would love comp season tickets, but let's start small and just run a great event. And locker room privileges. We're working on it. Congrats again, boys. Bill Nye the Thigh Guy says, hey, Dub boys, for the Winged Wheel podcast night, how far in advance do you have to give you a hard yes or no? Tickets are going to be going on sale by mid-August. Around mid or maybe mid to late August, people who have filled out that survey will get an email, and we'll also blast it everywhere on socials.
Yeah, we don't know. Is there a cap, or is it literally...
We'll talk about all of it once we...
yeah, because I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but either way, the sooner the better. We'll just say that.
Emily Escuri says, with the Tigers improving, the Pistons drafting Cunningham, and the Lions continuing training camp, it feels like Detroit sports fans are buzzing again, coming out of a difficult few years for all the teams. How do you think this renewed energy and support will translate to the Red Wings? I think Cade did a lot for the Red Wing or for Detroit. I think Red Wings fans are going to have the same doldrums of a bummer season, but having Mo Seider, potentially having Berggren at some point, potentially having Raymond at some point, having more of Veleno this year, that's going to go a long way. It's going to be closer to Lions energy than it is going to be Pistons energy.
So it's a catch-22. It's better for all Detroit sports to be good, but the Pistons getting Cade is going to, for people who split time between the Pistons and the Red Wings in their fandom, it's going to push them to the Pistons, especially in the short term. So it might actually be a detriment to the Red Wings.
I don't think that.
But winning cures everything. So whichever team turns it around first is going to get most of the attention, and that's just the reality of it.
I think Detroit sports has some of the best fans in that they know and genuinely are fans of multiple teams.
Yeah, but if there's, if the Pistons are on the road one night while the Wings are playing at home, who's watching which game? Like, people do have to make decisions on certain nights.
I'll watch neither there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, for your mental health, maybe. But no, kidding. But at least we all know the Pistons and the Red Wings are going to get more attention than the Lions because the Lions are the Lions. I know football is number one, but it's going to swing because they're the Lions.
I've held off on making the you might lose your team to Houston joke.
That's just a negotiating tactic. They're like, you're not taking them away from the most crazy, rabid fan base in the NFL.
I used to be like,
and it's not Houston, it's Austin. And also the Pagulas
Houston has a team.
Yeah. And the Pagulas are the biggest pieces of shit. Like, just honestly.
I used to be like the biggest, just build an arena, it'll be sweet and whatever. And then when I learned about taxes and that sort of stuff, if I'm a homeowner and a taxpayer, I do not want anything to do with a new arena, especially one that starts with a B.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. The Pagulas can go right to hell.
Banana is Larger says, with the way D-men are valued currently, what would the return be for Hronik and or Stetcher?
Not as much as you would hope.
I think Hronik's return would be higher because of the potential that teams would see in him.
And age and term. Stetcher, maybe a second-round pick right now. I mean, he was literally available to Seattle for free, and they said nah.
Does that really count, though?
Yeah, after seeing what they did, I can't put any. I can't put any. Every single mock draft before the expansion draft had Stetcher coming out of Detroit. The only team that didn't pick Stetcher out of Detroit was the Kraken.
Sam W says, what teams do you envision being Detroit's main contenders once they are a contending team again?
Biggest rivals?
Yeah.
Toronto.
Florida, Toronto.
I think
that Toronto's window's pretty big because they're pretty young.
Carolina might be there.
Different division, though.
Oh, we're just talking in division?
I think those are the most likely. I don't think Boston's going to be very good for much longer. I don't think Montreal's ever going to be a contender the way they are currently constructed. Buffalo is way behind Detroit now.
I think Ottawa might be there.
Yeah, their timeline is right around Detroit's, actually. That's probably the right answer. Ottawa and Detroit are on a very similar trajectory.
Arjun Shankar says, when does Evan's contract expire? Pretty sure you're overpaying him. Oh, he got the what's it called? The DiPietro deal. He got the 15-year.
Bobby Bonilla.
Yeah, it would cost us more to buy him out at this point. Like the math is all messed up. He was signed with the old podcast CBA. Brad and I made a mistake. We were young and foolish.
Yep. That's where I capitalized.
He owns stake in like the team now. It's a whole thing. So you just got to live with it. Michael Barry says, where do you see this team finishing in the regular season?
Above Buffalo, and that's about as much as I can confidently say in that division.
I think highest 25th, but not too far away from it. Where do I hope? I don't know. Wherever the lottery winning ball is, I really don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Jack Boyd says, no question. Just been listening since the beginning of the shitty pandemic. Listen to all the episodes. Love the podcast and decided to subscribe. Keep up the great work. Jack, that genuinely means a lot. And thank you so much for your support.
It's amazing how many episodes we've done in the last year and a half relative to how much Red Wings hockey has been played in that time. Because that's legitimately about 18 months of the pandemic, and the Red Wings actually played games for 4.5.
Yeah.
Do you know what episode number we're on?
No. I'm really bad for milestones. I always have notes for milestones and I miss them all.
Well, there's definitely some sicko out there who will go and count how many episodes.
Oh my God. We've legitimately done over
if we've already done
worth of episodes.
If we've done 1,000, that will be the funniest thing, the most on-brand thing of all time.
No, we haven't done 1,000.
I think we missed 500.
I think we're approaching 500 actually. We're like 20 or 30 episodes away.
It's only felt like 500.
Yeah.
It felt like 15.
Cyrus Marsh says, I just want to say I'm pumped for the future, or for what the future holds for this team. Having Yzerman steer the ship out of the darkness is the best thing we could have hoped for as Wings fans, especially after what Kenny did before he left. Who in our pipeline are you most excited about, not including the first rounders? I'm really hoping McIsaac and Berggren make it and flourish.
Oh, man. Not including first rounders.
I think Berggren's the answer there for me.
I would throw Johansson in there. He's a defenseman, so it's not as sexy of a pick, but in terms of potential.
Little Kirill Chuchiev.
Just for the name. I wanted to make it just to see Mick with that name.
Andrew Fortier says, hey, fellas, loving the content. I was watching Zadina highlights and can't help but think he's due for a breakout year. Is it crazy to think he can be a 20-goal, 30-assist guy next year? Would love to hear your thoughts.
I think it's very possible.
It's possible. I would almost invert that.
I was thinking invert too.
No, his playmaking really popped last year to me. And let's be honest, the way the Red Wings are constructed, we have more shooters than we have playmakers. So Zadina is probably going to be dishing more than receiving this year. So I think 2030 is the more logical.
I'm reading ahead for a question from Cody Stark. It's not going to be. Flackjack says, thanks for all the content, Dub boys. I try to keep a main jersey that I wear. That's an active player. It was Datsuk. Then it was Mantha. Wore his jersey to the game he scored 4 on Dallas, which was also my fiance's first Wings game. It's obviously time for a new Wings jersey. What active or soon to be active jersey should I get?
Luke Witkowski.
Go with Mo Seider, man.
Yeah. Larkin and Seider and probably Zadina are your really only safe bets.
Cody Stark says, all three of you, favorite appetizer? Wings? Because some people do them as an appetizer.
Oh man, Brad's got to go first. There's too many hitting my brain. I can't think of one.
I have a lot of options here as well. Is Wings your answer?
Wings is my answer.
Okay, Wings is the right answer. I'll pick a different one just for the sake of difference. I'll go a good spinach and artichoke dip.
I will take bruschetta, a real bruschetta.
Okay. That's like nice golf club bruschetta.
Oh, better than that.
Favorite pizza, crust and toppings.
Honestly,
I can't. Ryan doesn't deserve that heart attack today.
I honestly love simple. I like prosciutto, arugula, or prosciutto and some
Simple. He said simple, and he said prosciutto, and my eyes shut to Brad.
something simple.
We live different realities, man.
I just like a nothing. It doesn't have to be crazy. Just traditional.
Prosciutto, arugula, some gold flake, some roe.
Have you ever had gold flake before?
No, is it good?
It doesn't taste like anything.
I just know for a fact I can't afford the pizza you just laid out. Like,
It tastes like Brad can't have this.
yeah, that's what makes it so good.
If we sound like the worst friends Brad could have, you'd be right. My cheap answer here, I love a pepperoni pizza, but what I'm eating right now, this is going to sound like I'm saying this purposely to piss Brad off, and I promise you I'm not. I do pepperoni. I do onion.
onion, yeah, no. I don't.
I like onion on my pizza.
I don't begrudge people who like onion. It's my single most hated food, so I personally can't do it. I know I'm so far in the minority on that one. I can't argue it.
Either black olive or a tomato, but it has to be the right kind.
I took some serious flack for putting black olive on a pizza, but I love it.
Olives are so underrated.
Yeah, they are.
I prefer green olives, but it's fine.
Go ahead, Brad.
They're both good. Like, my one is like, my main topping is I like a good grilled chicken on pizza, which Ryan... to the answer to this question, it's perfectly fine. Yeah, like, and then just give me a couple veggies, green olives, green peppers, anything. I'm not super picky with that, and I'm happy. None of this white sauce bullshit on pizza, though, like proper pizza sauce.
Cody's is boom boom shrimp, thin crust, pepperoni, mushroom, red onion, and Guinness. Oh, he also asked beer. I like a lager. Light lager, actually. It would be nice with a beer.
Yeah, I'm more a lager guy. I'm not a big IPA guy.
Matt S. says, keep up the good work. As always, dubs. And Evan Feet Sky Lobsinger says, I like feet.
That is so weird.
It is by far the weirdest.
When that Twitter account popped up in my mentions, I almost pissed myself.
Yeah. I almost showed it. I almost threw my phone. I was like, what's going on? All right.
Well, I sent that in the screenshot of the group chat because I was the first one to find it, right? Yeah. Holy shit.
We're going to be back with you bright and early on Sunday morning, so expect that episode then. We'd like to thank all of our listeners, our name level sponsors, Kyle Karagitz, Arjun Shankar, Yves Bartel on behalf of the Sarah Grand Foundation, Nick Perks, Brett Bailey, Terry Driver of Cryan Ryan, Hannah's Banana Slam, and Jamathong, Taylor Tadgell, Brandon M, Citizen High Five, Craig Kibble, Cyrus Marsh, Derek Enstum, DJ Denton, Greach, Hana Lee, Hassam Al-Qassem, Jacob Turner, Jake Kiefer, Jeremiah Dobo, Joe Santangelo, Justin and the Angry Mob, Kaylin Wood, King Tone, Cody Stark, Kyle Hashman, Kyle McClure, Matt McKay, Matthew M. Rice, R.A., Ryan Hubbard, Scott Martin, Stacy Lynn, Zach Spring, Andrew Bohan, Sam Bankson, Adam I Wish I Could Finish Like Ernie, Antonio Gracias, Colorado 14ers, Connor Leightonen, currently out of name ideas, Dave W., Evans Bingo Card, Halligan Beer, Jeremy Brocker, Josh Yelton, Kevin McCracken, Quaz, Matt Keeler, Matt S., Motorboatin, Son of a Burt, As Good As It Gets, Trevor Pevivar, Vaxed Fresh Cheese Bags, Zach Handyside, Zach McCann, a driving range superstar. Thank you all so very much. We'll see you Sunday morning.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to check out wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find links to other ways to support the show, such as Patreon, official podcast apparel, and more. And don't forget to follow the show on Twitter at Winged Wheel Pod. And of course, the hosts at Brad Crisco, at Ryan Hanna WWP, and at Hockey Town Evan.